Hello. We are on late for us over here, early for our guest. I am Keyoka, the awkward black nomad. I'm a writer, I'm a dog mom, and I travel solo. On my channel, I talk about my experiences bopping around with my two dogs, and I also invite other black travelers and expats onto the channel to talk about their experiences living and traveling abroad. If this is content that you like the video, drop down in the comment section and subscribe to the channel if you are not already subscribed to the channel. We have a great guest tonight, and if you have any questions for her, please put a Q in front of your question and I'll be sure to get to it during the live. Let me bring her up. Let's see. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm
I'm
great.
great.
It's
It's
5:02 a.m.
5:02
here in
here in
Madagascar,
Madagascar,
and
and
I
I
got
got
like
like
2 hours
2 hours
sleep
sleep
last
last
night
night
because,
because
I
I
just
just
moved
moved
back
back
here
here
about a
about a
month
month
ago,
ago. Okay.
and
And
I have
I
no
have no
furniture,
furniture
and I've
and I've
got
got
all
all
this
this
stuff I'm
stuff I'm
trying to
trying to
plan
plan
because I
because I
can't
can't
buy
buy
everything at
everything at
once
once
because I
because
don't
I
have
don't
the
have
money.
money.
So I'm
So I'm
thinking,
thinking,
okay,
okay,
April I'm
April
going
I'm
to
gonna
buy
buy
this,
this,
May I'm
May
going
I'm
to
gonna
buy
buy
that.
that.
I'm
I'm
sleeping on
sleeping
a
on a
borrowed
borrowed
mattress on
mattress
the
on the
floor.
floor.
And
And
with
with
four
four
dogs and
dogs and
keeping them
keeping them
off
off
my
my
mattress,
mattress,
you got
you got
the
the
mosquito
mosquito
net,
net,
and
and
it's
it's
just, and
just.
then
And then
last
last
night it
night it
seemed
seemed
like
like
every
every
5 minutes they
5 minutes
were
they were
barking at
barking at
something they
something they
heard
heard
outside.
outside.
So,
So
yeah,
yeah,
some
some
nights it
nights
was
it
like
just about
that.
right. That sounds about right. Yep. So
So, anyway,
anyway,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. So could you tell the people where is here, wherever you just moved to?
Okay.
Okay.
So
So
I'm in
I'm in
Majenga,
Majenga,
Madagascar,
Madagascar,
which
which
is
is
a
a
resort
resort
town
town
on
on
the
the
west
west
coast of
coast of
Madagascar.
Madagascar.
Madagascar is
Madagascar
an
is an
island
island
off the
off the
east
east
coast of
coast of
Africa.
Africa.
We're
We're
just
just
across from
across from
Mozambique
Mozambique
and
and
Tanzania.
Tanzania.
And
And
my
my
grandfather's
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 grandfather was
grandfather was
Malagasy.
Malagasy.
So
So
in
in
Madagascar, the
Madagascar, the
Malagasy
Malagasy
people
people
speak
speak
Malagasy
Malagasy
in
in
Madagascar.
Madagascar.
So
So
when you
when
hear
you
the
hear the
term
term
Malagasy,
Malagasy,
it
it
refers to
refers
the
to the
people
people
and
and
language.
language.
One
One
word you
word
will
you will
never
never
hear,
hear.
that's just not a word. So we're Malagasy.
Malaga.
And so Malagasy. And so yeah, my screen name is like on Facebook is Malagasy Lisa. Um, yeah, I came here in 2017 with the Peace Corps. I was 60 and I decided to retire early from doing computers. I've been doing computers for 30 years. And I was just tired of the bullshit in the US, the systemic racism and the guns. And I just had enough. So Social Security hadn't kicked in yet, so I said, well, where can I go on very little money and make a difference in the world? And Peace Corps was a dream I'd had since I was 8 years old when I saw my first Peace Corps commercial in 1964. And I came here to teach English, and I did that for 2 years. Then I moved to Belize on a love connection with an ex-boyfriend, and
Pause. There's so much. Hold on. So I hear that you have an accent, not an accent. I'm hearing that there's an echo. So I'm gonna put my earphones in to see if that helps the sound. Give me 1 second.
yeah, and oh, you know what? Let me turn off this fan. Maybe that'll help.
Okay,
Okay, the fan is off.
put a thumbs up in the chat
Okay,
if the sound is okay. Put a thumbs down if it's not okay.
it's fine. It's fine
It's
either
fine.
way. Does that help me turning off the fan? Did that help at all? I don't know if it mattered to you. Okay.
I hear you perfectly. Okay, echo is fixed.
Okay,
Okay, perfect. Perfect.
good. It must.
Okay, wait a second. So so much. Let's talk. Okay, you're not in Belize. We're gonna just talk about the. So you moved for a man.
An ex-boyfriend from 30 years ago. Oh baby, oh baby, oh baby, oh baby. You know how it is. And then when I got to Belize, I was living in a Garifuna village called Sandbite near the Placencia, on the Placencia Peninsula. And as soon as I got there, I'm like, oh, now I remember why we broke up 30 years ago, you know? And so 9 months later, I was back here because I loved Madagascar. So I got back here in February 2020. What happened in 2020? COVID. So our borders were shut down 2 years. You couldn't come in or out. And so last year, 2024, I had been here 4 years and I hadn't seen my kids. Um, Mainly because getting to Madagascar is not easy. Round trip, it takes a week from San Francisco. It's a long, arduous trip. Yeah, it takes a week round trip.
Is it because
Um,
there's no direct flights?
well, that's part of it, but it's a long ass way. And then, so even if I go, say, San Francisco to Paris, that's 10 hours. Then you got to connect. Paris to Tana, our capital city, that's another 10 hours. Then once you get to Madagascar, if you're going to take a flight to Majenga, those are only twice a week. So you may have to wait a day or two for the flight. Or you want to take the bush taxi, well, that's 17 hours on the world's worst roads, and you had to wait overnight for that. Yeah, it's a long trip. So by the time you finally get here, you're just dead. Um, and knowing my kids, you know, they knew what to expect. And then it's expensive. And so I always travel here in February because February and October worldwide are the cheapest months to travel. And so February you can get a fare roughly half the price. So I had moved to Belize in April. In February I was back in Madagascar. So I saved for 4 years. So last October I moved back to the US to just spend some time with my kids. And I don't like the US at all. And
Fair.
my kids are, yeah, my kids are in the Bay Area. And I was thinking, okay, what am I going to do? So I decided to do Peace Corps again. So last June, I moved to Costa Rica with Peace Corps to do community economic development. And I thought I was going to be working with mainly women entrepreneurs and helping start small businesses, but it turned out to be a whole lot of bureaucratic paperwork and bullshit that I just really wasn't feeling. So, in addition, having lived here for 6 years, when I got there, even though I had done Spanish 50 years ago, people would speak to me in Spanish and I'd answer in Malagasy. And it was me making the switch was just driving me crazy. So after the 3 months of pre-service training, Peace Corps decided your Spanish skills aren't good enough. We're not going to swear you in. And so I came back here. And it was a blessing because I loved Costa Rica. My host families, I had two host families, were just amazing people. And I love the country. It's expensive as hell though. But I knew that even if I had sworn in, I wasn't going to spend the 2 years there because the CED program just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And I knew I wasn't going to be happy. And so I knew that when I came back to Madagascar, I had already started my nonprofit, Mama Lisa Cares, back in 2021. And I knew that there was a big need here with all the kids that we support and all the critters. So where could I do the most good? And that was here. It's the dog's. Oh, that's your keyboard. You're taking notes. I heard that click, click keyboard.
Because I want to let you tell your story, but I'm thinking of things to as you're talking, I'm thinking of more questions that I want to ask you.
Understandable. I know there's a lot. And so I started writing a book about blacksmithing, you know, the Blacksmith 101 guide. I haven't finished it yet, but because I'm on all the blacksmith groups on Facebook, no matter which country, with one exception, I'm in all the blacksmith groups because I firmly believe that, especially for retired people, Peace Corps is a great way to blacksmith on somebody else's dime, and they take care of your passport, your visa, your health care. your housing. They give you a monthly stipend. They put $400 a month away in a savings account for every month that you serve. And when you quit Peace Corps, they cash you out. There are a lot of advantages to doing Peace Corps, and there's no age limit.
Well, could you
So
talk a little bit about the process for joining Peace Corps? Because I've heard it's actually very not difficult, but like there's a big process. I thought people just signed up to do Peace Corps, but I've heard that there's actually a whole strenuous kind of process to go through to get selected.
well, it's changed since COVID. Our numbers are way down for Peace Corps. People just aren't signing up like they used to. It used to be that 12% of those who applied were offered a position with Peace Corps. That's when I joined the first time. But now, because their staffing is still based on pre COVID levels, Peace Corps had to do some layoffs, a reduction in force, because there just aren't as many volunteers and trainees that they're supporting. So you go on peacecorps.gov and you look for the easiest way is to look for the countries that you're interested in to see if there are any openings. And then you can apply for a specific opening in a specific country, or you can just apply, say, hey, Peace Corps, send me anywhere. Back in the day when Peace Corps first started in 1962, you went where Peace Corps sent you, whether you were happy or not. And as you can imagine, having people go where they want to go makes it for a much happier relationship. There are gonna be a couple of interviews you have to do. You're gonna have to say why is it that I want to join Peace Corps, blah blah, typical stuff. Peace Corps is designed for young white college kids, um, but they really do want people of color, and they really want mature people. Um, I really wish that Peace Corps would have one group, one stage, as we call it, of just retired folks, because being the only retired one and only one of two or so in a stage with Peace Corps Madagascar was a real problem. With Peace Corps Costa Rica, it was wonderful. I didn't have a problem at all. Um, but it's a great way to learn a language. They're going to teach you the language, teach you the culture. As I said, they provide everything. Peace Corps' one and two concerns are your safety and your security. So, like, for example, El Salvador was Peace Corps shuttered there for several years because the gangs there had taken over the country. And then Bukele was elected as president. He came in and built this huge prison and basically rounded up anybody who they thought was a gang member. And he's taken back El Salvador for El Salvadorans. Now there's a double-edged sword there because, as you know, Trump just sent a bunch of Venezuelans down to El Salvador at Bukele's invitation. So the politics have gotten different there. My point is, Peace Corps shut down El Salvador because it wasn't safe for young white kids. They have just reopened since last year, a very small group, and they're getting back into El Salvador because they feel it's safe. I mean, Peace Corps volunteers have been killed over, the dumbest shit, but, they're very, very careful. They even moved me. I had been here for about a year, and I had witnessed an attempted murder. And even though I'm from Detroit and I'm not afraid, come at me, you're gonna start some shit, I'm gonna finish it. Um, Peace Corps felt it wasn't safe for me to stay here, so they moved me to the other side of the island. I didn't have any input, I didn't have any ability to object, just, we're moving you to Mahambu. And I'm like, no, I don't wanna go, because I really loved it here. And so for a year, I was in Mahambu, which was another wonderful Peace Corps location. No electricity, no running water, but it was a great time. But they were concerned. We know you love it here, Mama Lisa, but we got to keep you safe. And you ride around town on this truck bike with your purple backpack. Everybody knows you. And someone who knows that you witnessed this attempted murder might just send somebody to run you off the road and you're done. I'm like, as much as I hated to move. Peace Corps was right. They did the right thing by moving me.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's kind of Peace Corps. So I said peacecorps.gov and take a look to
What
see what's available. You guys.
what is CED? You mentioned CED.
Community Economic Development. Every Peace Corps country has three programs that they support. In Madagascar, it's English education, agriculture, and health. In Costa Rica, it's English education, community economic development, or SED, as we say, and youth development, which is going into schools, and I'm not quite sure of the mission statement of the YD, especially since, see, the president of Costa Rica mandated recently that all school children who graduate from high school in Costa Rica have to be bilingual, English and Spanish. So they need a ton of English teachers. So Peace Corps provides them with free instructors. When I taught English in Madagascar, I could not teach more than 20 hours per week. That was how Madagascar ran it. In Costa Rica, they're teaching from 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, plus some Saturdays.
For
So they're
free?
working full time for free. And I said, "Oh no, I'm retired. I didn't come here to work full time." But that's what the program is. So when you sign up for Costa Rica, they explain this is going to be a full time gig. Now we are paid, we get like $650 a month for our stipend, but 400 of that goes to your rent because you have to pay rent, and then you have to live on the rest, the 250, which can be a challenge because, as I said, Costa Rica is expensive. But you're living with a host family. You're required to live with the host family the first 6 months, but a lot of Peace Corps volunteers stay with their host family the whole 2 years. So they're providing rent plus meals. So if you move out on your own, then you have to pay your own rent and you have to do your own meals. And as I said, and then every month you serve, they put $400 away in a savings account that you cannot touch. And then when you cash out, you get this one lump sum. So at the end of 2 years, you can walk away with about 10 grand. And you can, spend that anyway. So if you have student loans while you're in Peace Corps, they're deferred. Um, and then there's some government jobs that used to be until Trump that were non-compete, that they were basically reserved just for returning Peace Corps volunteers, and you could get a government job for life. And a lot of our PCVs, that's what they want. They want to go ahead, get that good government job, the good insurance, start paying back their student loans, and they're set. So but for me, none of that mattered because I was already retired. I started collecting Social Security while I was doing Peace Corps Madagascar. So I didn't care about any of that stuff, but it was still just a fun thing to do. And I still think that Peace Corps is a wonderful way to blacks it. Um, it's a wonderful way to blacks it.
Okay. I
I'm
want to
sorry,
take
I'm
a
gonna have to.
moment to. No, you're fine. I want to take a
Okay.
moment to
Uh,
acknowledge everybody in the chat. Thanks for hopping
okay.
on, y'all. As Alicia says, yes, we are up late and we are trying to hang out. Appreciate your presence. Black folk, we speak when we come into the room. So tell us hi. If you have a question for my guest, put a Q in front of your question. Khadijah is asking, with the changes in you said in this new administration, how do you see the future of Peace Corps?
Girl, USAID is one of the most important governmental agencies that the United States has. USAID does so much good around the world. I have so many friends that work for them, and I know it's going back and forth in the courts. And the latest I've read is that the USAID cuts were deemed unconstitutional, and they have to undo them. And I'm hoping that happens. By the
Probably
same
not.
token, Peace Corps, no matter which administration, has always gotten the funding we've needed. Well, for the most part, like 90% of the funding we needed. I was Peace Corps the last time Trump was president. And we were terrified then that he was going to ex Peace Corps because, like, what do we need with peace? You know. And then I was Peace Corps again when he was president, and we're like, oh, and he's even worse now. So all my friends at Peace Corps are just trying to keep a very low profile, go under the radar, don't notice us because Peace Corps, I think we're 35 countries right now, I don't remember. It not only employs so many wonderful people, but Peace Corps changes lives. It happens regularly, no matter where I am in the world. When people find out that you did Peace Corps, they say, you know what? My mother lived in a small village in Podunk something, and Peace Corps volunteer came in and taught her how to read or helped deliver me when I was born or whatever. And because of that, I decided that I wanted to become a doctor. I get stories like this all the time. People don't realize just what an impact Peace Corps has. The future of Peace Corps, because the Democrats, which we won't even talk about the politics there, but they are pushing back in the courts. And with Justice Roberts just telling Trump just yesterday, well, yesterday for me, the day for you, um, you got to stop this shit. Basically, the Supreme Court is putting him on notice that we're not going to back you. What you're doing is against the Constitution. You can't request a judge be impeached just because he rules against you. Common sense is starting to prevail, but you still have, it's still an oligarchy. You still have so many people with so much wealth that have so much power. I hope the Peace Corps survives. That's all I can say. In USAID. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Um, okay, so where do we go from here? So you decided
My,
to
non-
wait, I'm sorry?
my, my nonprofit.
Yes.
How my non Okay. So I was living here. Um, During Peace Corps, I had started feeding some of the neighborhood dogs. My Peace Corps stipend, which was like $200 a month. This is before my Social Security kicked in. And I had to be very careful and sneak to feed them because if people saw me being kind to dogs, the dogs would very likely be poisoned because the Malagasy people are taught that dogs are demonic. This is part of their traditional religion. And anyone who's kind to dogs is possibly possessed and is a demon. So, yeah, I have lost so many dogs to poisoning. Girl, I lost one of my orphans to poisoning just a few weeks ago. His family poisoned him. That's just the way they do things here. If they think someone is demonic or possessed, they just poison them. Yeah. Anyway,
It's horrible.
so yeah, it is. I was kind of sharing on Facebook some of the things I was doing, and a lot of my friends on Facebook, I'm 68, are retired teachers, a lot of different, and they started sending me small donations. And the money just kept coming. And then I did a fundraiser to build a halfway house for the orphans that age out of the system once they turn 18. This one orphanage we support, they kick them out onto the street and they have no family support. So we raised $5,000, which was enough to build this one building that had two basically one bedroom units, mirror units side by side, and I could have up to two females on one side and two males. And the idea was to teach them how to adult, and they could stay there for 2 years and then move out on their own and make room for the next wave of 18-year-old orphans coming in. And so all this money started coming in, and I was afraid it was going to negatively impact my Social Security benefits. I was forced to start a nonprofit. I did not intend to. I just went on like startyournonprofit.com and I did that. And then I went on Facebook and said, "Hey guys, I started a nonprofit. Hey." And so one of my friends on Facebook sent me a private message. He said, "Lisa, let me see what you did because starting nonprofits, like that's what I do for a living." I said, "Okay, great, Hubert. Here's what I have." So he came and says, "Yeah, this is a big mess." And so he cleaned it up for me for free. He says, "I paid your filing fee." I said, "Filing fee for what?" I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. He said, "Well, just pay me back next month when you get your Social Security." And I did. And bless his heart, he did my taxes my first year. He died about 6 months ago. Um, a man I never met. We were just Facebook friends.
Oh, wow.
And that's the kind of people that I have surrounding me in my circle who just see what I'm doing online. And I get so many people like, I was back in the States last year and a friend of mine asked me to build her website. And so I was at her house and we were talking about the website she wanted and can you tell me about the blah, 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 blah. And she was telling me about my life for the last 3 or 4 years. She says, "Well, yeah, and then you did this and then you did that." And I'm like, "How do you know all this?" She said, "Because I read your Facebook posts." And so many people tell me, "Lisa, I live vicariously through you." I wish I could travel the world like you do. I wish I did have the nerve to travel alone. You know what it's like. A lot of people are afraid to travel alone. I prefer it.
Mm.
And for a number of reasons, but you travel with dogs. So my hat's off to you because that can be a nightmare getting in and out of countries with dogs. So,
They can be a
girl,
nightmare.
well, yeah, just period. But then dealing with all the rigmarole, like I posted just the other day, I had to, I'm trying to get I had a retirement visa. It was good for 3 years. It expired while I was gone in Costa Rica last year. So I have to start the process all over, which requires all kinds of documents. I had to go to the police station Monday to get a certificate of morality. But before I could get my certificate of morality, I had to go to my Fukutani, which is my local township, and get a certificate of good character. And so these are
So
exactly
it's
what
like a background check, kind of.
this is where somebody who knows you says, "Is she a good person?" Yes. Do you test it? Yes. And they stamp it. It has to have a red stamp and a signature and another stamp. And then you take this to the other thing and say, "Okay, you got the certificate of good character." And then they interview you and ask you, "Well, have you been in trouble with the police since you've been here?" No. What did you do for a living before you retired? I did computers. Okay, and then they stamp it, and then they give you the certificate of morality in a sealed envelope that you cannot open, and you send that off to the visa people with all your other documents. It's just so interesting because we're a developing nation. There's very few computers. They're still using typewriters because a lot of the government offices don't even have electricity. So, yeah,
Wow.
it's like going time here in a lot of ways. It's hilarious. So now my process will probably, this is March. I hope to get my visa by September.
So
And that will, go ahead.
are you still in the Peace Corps while you're there now, or
No, I quit Peace Corps. I did what's called a field termination, which meant I left Peace Corps, but I remained in country. I
okay?
could have had them sent back to the U.S. I was really enjoying Costa Rica. I'm like, no, I want to stay in Costa Rica. So my host family and I had bonded, so I just stayed with them for 4 more months or so. And then when I decided that I was going to come back to Madagascar, I think that was in January. Then I went back to the States to pick up some stuff I'd left at my daughter's, and then brought everything except my violin. I couldn't. I brought my sewing machine. I couldn't bring everything, but when I joined Peace Corps, I had to purge, purge, purge. And I'm like, I'm bringing everything because I'm tired of living without like a cast iron skillet and this is stuff that we want to have because you can't get cast iron here. Yeah, it's just a lot of things. Since I had lived here, I knew exactly what to bring, what I needed. When I came here the first time, I brought all the stuff that I didn't need that I could get here. But now I knew, okay, bring Ziploc bags. Bring, cast iron. Bring, if you want, I'm trying to let my hair grow out, bring a curling iron. Just hair products and lotions and things that you can't get here. But every country is different. Like I went to Spain a couple of years ago, and while I was there, I was like, oh my God, they got my favorite lotion. I can't get it in Madagascar. So I was buying, it's just odd when you travel a globe, you see, here I can get Nivea and some off brands. Nivea is okay. It's just very greasy for me. I don't really care for Nivea. But, so, lotions and things, kitchen stuff, yeah, so.
Okay, okay.
So Madagascar is going to be like my home base, and I'm getting my house set up and furnished. I'm paying $220 a month for a 3-bedroom apartment, and it's fine, with the dogs. And so that way, if I decide to just leave and go over to the motherland for a few months or explore, my caretakers will come in and take care of my dogs. I have one of the orphans actually living here with me, so he helps with the dogs. So that way I can afford to go and travel around the world and know and always come back, because for $200 a month, it's worth keeping this place going. Yeah. So the cost of living here is extremely low. So for the $2,000 Social Security that I get, I can live like a queen easily, easily.
Oh yeah.
You can
And
live
you mentioned
here on like
even you mentioned vet care before we hopped on the live. So you have a dog who actually had surgery.
this poor
How
girl had a prolapsed uterus. So that means that after giving birth to her puppies, her uterus just falls outside the body. I don't know why, it's very common here. And I have a veterinarian who I've been using for years, and he can do field surgeries to repair them. But this one, when I discovered her, I didn't realize she had been dealing with this for over a year. And it's amazing she was still alive, because with her uterus hanging out there, the infection and it's constantly bleeding and whatnot. So we tried field surgery 3 times with her, but the vet finally told me, he says, Mama Lisa, she's got this buildup of hard tissue now because it's been exposed to the outside. We need to have this cut out and surge. And there's only one vet in town who has a surgery theater, who has the anesthesia, the general anesthesia, all this. So I had to take him to this other vet who I've had mixed experiences with, but he does have the expertise. He just he's very rough with the dogs, and I don't like that. Like he'll see, like, hey, how are you doing? He's sitting on her stomach. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? She's getting ready to go into surgery. So anyway, that cost about a half a million RERE, which is about $120. And I'm gonna go pick her up today. She's been with him for about a week. He's been sending me videos of her. She's doing well. The thing is, now what do you do with her? Do I take her back to the family where she was living? I've rescued her and one other dog from them. No, they'll never get another dog from me. In fact, I'm still caring for some of their dogs. They're nice enough people, they just have no money. And so when their dogs keep popping out puppies, they don't know what to do with them, and they neglect them. So going around town and giving Depo-Provera shots to females is one of the main things that we do. And we have a schedule, we know, twice a year to keep them from going into heat. The only doctor that can do the spaying is the doctor I just mentioned, but that's like $100 per spay. Or each Depo-Provera shot costs $8. So for that same $100, I can spay one dog, or I can treat 15 other dogs and keep them from going into heat. So, and then we're also going out and doing field neutering of males when their owners will allow. Because a lot of times, no, you can't neuter my male.
you do it?
No, one of my vets.
Okay.
But I do it. I mean, I've been working with 3 or 4 vets for the last 6 years. So I do, vaccinations. I can do IV, intravenous. Sometimes if a dog is dehydrated, you put saline water just under the skin to try to keep them hydrated until they can start drinking again. Um, I do deworming, mange, basic stuff. I can do injections, and I know how to identify what things going on. I don't want to be a vet. I just, I can do the basic stuff. So I see a dog who's throwing up, I know what to do for them. A dog that won't eat, I know what to do for them. Um, and then the vets are great. They don't mind me doing this because I'm caring for so many dogs that if I was calling them for every single one, they'd never get any rest. So
They
it
might be
kind of
overwhelmed themselves too.
exactly because they have their own clients to take care of. So yeah, so they're like, can you show me how to do it? Oh, sure, Mama Lisa. This is how you make sure you do this, and this is how you hold the needle, and this is intravenous. This has to be into the muscle. Blah 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 blah. So yeah. So I'm really lucky that I have so many vets here that support what I'm doing, especially as I said, because in Madagascar, dogs are thought of as being demonic. Now, because we're a resort town and there's so many visa, visa is a term, it means, officially it means visitor, but it's generally used to talk about a white person. Um, because there's so many visa living here, a lot of them are dog owners. So their caregivers, their housekeepers are used to being around dogs that are cared for. So in Majenga, there are a lot more dog lovers than in if you go to the east coast of the country and you won't see a single dog. They kill them on sight. So yeah, so that's why one of the reasons I'm trying to get some funding so I can open up a shelter. And we have a veterinary college here as a part of the University of Majinga. And I'd like to start using some of these veterinary students to work in the clinic, have a boarding facility, start doing field trips for schools to bring them in to teach them about caring for dogs. Dogs are to be respected, but not feared. And they're not demonic, blah, blah, blah. And it's a whole process we want to work with. But I still have to be careful. If I see someone watching me when I'm caring for the dogs, because I go around town a couple times a week taking nutritious food to a lot of dogs in need. And if I see someone watching me intently, then I know they're probably thinking, hmm, we got to take that dog out. So I have to be careful. I have to be careful. And when I
So
see someone like that, sometimes I'll approach them. Ah, Salama, Anaraku Mama Lisa. My name is Mama Lisa. And and then I said, I'm Boca Tajuni, I'm from the United States. And said, oh, she's Americana. And then they realize, oh, she's American. She doesn't understand about dogs. And a lot of times, just that is enough to diffuse their fear. And so they say, okay, we'll just ignore her. So I tend to reach out to people like that. I don't run from them. But sometimes, no matter what you do, you're going to lose a dog, you know, or two.
so you speak Malagasy and you mentioned earlier that
Uh,
you're great. Well, I don't know.
Well, my
Do
mom
you,
friends would say I don't, but I think I do.
we count it.
Yeah, my grandfather's grandfather's grandfather, William Lee, he was Malagasy, and I've been able to trace his genealogy back to the late 1700s in Canada. After he left Madagascar, went to Canada, but the Malagasy National Archives only go back to around 1820, and he'd already left by then. So I don't know where the Lee, that's my last name, I don't know where the Lee name came from. If this was a name that he chose after he got to Canada, or before the French came into Madagascar, the British were here, and maybe Lee was his birth name. One of my best friends here in Madagascar, her last name is Johnson. You run into a lot of Anglo names here that from the different colonizers and pre-colonizers that were here. Those names just hung on. There's several Lees here, but I don't know if we're related. Yeah. So
Did
when I
you
did a
know
DNA test,
before? Did you know before
mhm,
going to Madagascar that you were related to the
yeah,
Malagasy people?
yeah,
Yeah.
Right. That's why I chose Madagascar. It's
Okay.
because I wanted to explore Africa. I said, well, Madagascar is an island off the coast. Let me start there and kind of get Madagascar out the way. Then I can go back to the mainland and explore Tanzania and Kenya and all those great countries. And so far, I haven't done that yet, but I'm hoping to do that this year to finally get some time. I want to get to where my biggest chunk of DNA is Nigeria. And I don't like Nigerians. And I hate saying that because when I
Hold
was at
on,
the
Mama
university,
Lisa. Hold on, Mama Lisa. Hold on. As a disclaimer, the opinions of my guests do not reflect the views of the host or the Awkward Black Nomad platform. Uh, Listen, you see this website here that we have next to Mama Lisa's name. Direct your messages to this lady, please. I don't want any smoke from
but
anybody.
let me, when I was at the University of Michigan in the 70s, there were a whole lot of Nigerian students there. And these men thought they were God's gift to women. And personal space meant nothing. They would come right up to you and put their arm around you and like, whoa, So these Nigerian students at the University of Michigan really nasty taste in my mouth. As I said, this goes back 50 years. But, so I know that I need to let that go. I need to move to Nigeria and embrace my heritage, which is probably evil, partially, and just claim my Nigerian heritage. So that's why I
Maybe,
said all that. Yeah, yeah. So,
maybe,
and then on
maybe.
my mother's side is Sierra Leone, the Mende of Sierra Leone. Well, if you believe African ancestry DNA, which I'm not sure that I do, I have a lot of issues with them too. But yeah, so I haven't been to the motherland yet, but I hope to get there hopefully this year and start. So yes, before I came here, I knew I was Malagasy.
Okay, phenomenal. Okay. Um, so do you think that anyone visiting, because you mentioned there are a lot of, I don't know the word you use, but there's a lot of like white people there or foreigners in that
So,
area?
so, yeah, well, yeah, they tend to be, there's going to be Bazaar in town for sure. But Majenga, because it's a resort town, you have a lot of Bazaar that own the hotels and some that live here that work for some of the NGOs or whatever.
Mm,
Um, I try to avoid white people as much as possible. And so, there's certain places like if I want to go to the bank, I'll probably run into one or two. Certain supermarkets, you would run into one or two. Like there's a really high end French supermarket that I go to for certain things. And I know before I go, I'll probably see a couple of us out there. And, you know, the problem I have several problems, but the biggest problem I have is that a lot of these people live here for decades and they can't even say salama, which is a greeting. They don't try to learn the language. They don't care about embracing the culture. They just want to speak French and expect you, everyone, French, the whole white privilege thing. They roll it out. It comes in wheelbarrows. And that's my problem with them is that they don't embrace the fact that they're living in an African nation with African culture, African language, and a lot of them are having children with African women, and even the children don't even speak Malagasy. Yeah.
really?
Yeah, they'll send them to French schools. I have good friends of mine, Gassy friends, whose kids go to French schools and they know French and they know English and they know almost no Malagasy.
Oh, wow.
Because in order to graduate from high school here, you have to know French, English, and Malagasy. You have to do a 3-day exam, 1 day in each language. And they'll do enough English to pass exam, and then they never want to, the English. But the Malagasy, yeah, they don't speak it because his parents speak French to them. And I mean, I've had some heated conversations with some of my friends. I said, your child is really missing out because this is their roots. The roots are not French. If you go do your genetic genealogy, there's no French. It's all Malagasy. Why don't you want to teach them language? Oh, whatever, whatever, whatever. But that's their choice. You got to respect it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's my problem I have with the white folks here, and there are exceptions, of course. And then you have the missionaries, which I'm not Christian, so I'll just leave that alone. But I think that Africa as a whole would be better off without missionaries. But they're here. So.
But how do you think you as a Black American woman, how have you been received? How do people receive you? Because you mentioned that they don't know that you're American until you go and speak to someone, but
Mhm.
do you feel like they treat you differently after they realize that you're American?
That's an interesting question. I think about that from time to time. The one big giveaway for me is my gray hair. In Madagascar, you don't see gray hair. The men
Really?
and the women, their hair is jet black. No matter how old they are, they have these little packets of shampoo that has hair color, and they wash their hair and they wash out the gray. And so when you see somebody, you try to figure out how old they are, but their hair is jet black, and black don't crack. So how do you know how old people are? So if I wear a wrap on my hair, I could totally blend in. No one would suspect. But the minute they see my gray hair, they'll think, mm. Like a guy was talking to me yesterday, and he was talking Malagasy. He was talking so fast, I couldn't understand everything he was saying. I said, "That's funny. Simazava. Tingasi Kelly Bula Mianaja. I'm still learning Malagasy." Malagasy. He says, "Oh, I thought you were Malagasy." And I was surprised because you see, every now and then you see a person with gray hair, but not very often. So people do. So the way I'm received, the minute they find out you're American, they're like, oh, wealthy American, she's got money, and, that whole wealthy American thing. I think as a whole, even though I do butcher the Malagasy language something terribly, the fact that I try, the fact that I speak it as much as I do, um, goes over very well. And when they see how much I'm doing with the special needs kids and the orphans and even the animals, I think they've really, and the fact that I left Madagascar twice. I left first after Peace Corps, and then I left again in 2024 because I hadn't seen my kids, and have come back twice. They're like, wow, she keeps coming back. She must really love Madagascar. So that gives me major props.
Mm.
They probably don't understand a lot of the things that I do, but they give me the benefit of the doubt because I do so much for so many people here. Um, College students who need tuition, if I have it, it's yours. Um, Someone, and I say no a lot. People come to me with all kinds of shit like, oh, Mona Lisa, I need you to buy me a car so I can make deliveries and make some money. I'm like, no, the kind of things that people ask you for. But
Do you have a car while you're there?
I no, not at all. Hold on, let me turn off this fan. I think that might be. Looks like my video is getting kind of screwy here. No, public transit. I'm a public transit girl, no matter where I live. Even if I go, like when I spent a couple days in Spain. The first thing I did was download the public transit app, so I know how to get around. Um, Here we have bush taxis to take you long distances. We have those are called taxi bus. Then the taxi bays, these vans that take you around locally. They have bajajis, which is the tuk-tuks. You have the pus, which is like the rickshaws. You have regular taxis, and then you have Madagascar Air, which you can fly from Tana to Majinga to Fort Dauphin. I mean, there are airports all over the country that you can fly to, but it's very expensive. So Yeah, I'm a public transit guy. And then when I was Peace Corps, I had a bike. And I've had, a bike for several years. And I will get a bike. I just got back here a few weeks ago, so I'll get a
Mm.
bike. Um,
So how is it getting around? Would someone be able to use, like, could you look up routes online? Are there apps to help, or is it kind of like you show up at a stop that you heard was the bus stop, or and then you can plan your route like from the bus? Is it kind of like that? You have to figure it out.
remember, oh, I didn't say this. Only 30% of the people here have access to electricity. So there are no apps, there's no ride sharing. I've heard there may be some ride sharing in Tana, but Tana's a whole nother thing. This the capital, the traffic's always bad. Um, and Tana, I wouldn't trust ride sharing apps because there's just so many shysters that want to take advantage of you. Here, it's just word of mouth. You just ask somebody, I need to get from here to here. How do I get there? And they'll tell you which bus or which buses to take. And the Bajajis are cheap. The Bajaj will cost me 1,500 RERE, which is about, let me see, about 20 cents. And it'll take me, yeah, pretty much all over town.
Cheap.
And what's great about Mhm. Cost of living here is really cheap. What's great about the Bajaji is I have several Bajajis that I can call and say, hey, Luke or the sauce, whatever, come pick me up. And then I give them the list. I need to go here, 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 here. And they'll take me, and then when I need, I go in my shop. I leave all my bags in a Bajaj. I come out and just go to the next place. When I lived, my last apartment was up on the third floor. They'll bring everything up for me. Um, yeah, and then when I need to transport a dog, like I have to pick that dog up from the vet this morning, I have to call one of my Bajaji drivers because a lot of drivers, no, I'm not transporting dogs because if someone sees them with a dog in the Bajaj, they'll lose business. But the guy I'm going to call this morning, he owns dogs. So he will come. In fact, when we had to take her to the vet, she was very afraid and just getting her, and she was becoming aggressive, getting her controlled and getting her in the Bajaj. He was very helpful with that. I mean, a lot of people just, no, I'm not involved, but he, there's some really good people here. So yeah, the public transit is excellent. And then I like to walk. And a lot of times if it's just a mile or so, I'll walk and it gives me an opportunity to check out all the little small businesses and epiceries. And everywhere I go, there's the national police, there's the municipal police, there's the gendarme, which is like the police of the military, and then there's one other, I can't think of the name. Well, the national police are like traffic cops. And when I had to get my certificate of morality, it was the national police that issued that. But what I started doing years ago was,
Not an argument.
they hear something. The garage door is open, they can go out the garage and check it out. The national police, I started giving out bonbons, well, lollipops. And I see them, and I don't know why I started passing them out to just the national police. The municipal police, I hate. They're assholes. But the national police, the traffic cops, they're very kind. And they see me, oh, Mama Lisa, bonbon. Yeah, and I get the bonbon. But what's great was a couple years ago, I was hit from behind by a speeding Bajaj. And I ended up with a groin injury. I had to get an MRI. I was pretty banged up. Luckily, nothing broke. Well, I broke the windshield of the Bajaj when my elbow hit it, but
So
me,
you
I,
were walking.
I was walking across the street. I had a basket on each side loaded with dog food. I was on my weekly buy semi weekly truck around to feed dogs. And this Bajaj saw me crossing the street, and it was near an intersection where he was going to have to slow down. And I heard the horn, but I didn't even get a chance to turn to look. And next minute, I'm on the ground like I'm hit. And so I'm looking up because this is an intersection where there are cars and trucks run flying through like 90 all the time. And I look up because I'm expecting I'm going to be hit by something else. And luckily, there's nothing coming. And so now a whole crowd has gathered around me, and I don't, I'm trying to, what just happened? And so I hear a voice in English saying, Mama Lisa, don't cry. Because in Madagascar, we don't cry. Um, the Madagascar culture is very big in stoicism. So if you're feeling sad and you start crying, people say courage, courage, which is courage, like don't cry. So I'm literally getting ready to cry because I'm overwhelmed by what the fuck just happened and everything hurts. And so she says, don't cry. Okay. So she says, do you need help? And I guess so they helped me sit up and they put me in the same Bajaj that just hit me. He took me around the corner because I was right in front of my house to a clinic. I got to the clinic and one of the doctors spoke English and she knew me. She says, oh, Mama Lisa. I said, I just got hit by Bajaj. She made one phone call. She called one of her friends and within a half an hour, I kid you not, within 30 minutes, the waiting room was filled with my friends who'd heard that Mama Lisa got hit by Bajaj. And they were coming to see Mama. My vet was there. I mean, my friend's husband, just all these people. Like, what the hell did you do to Mama? So, and on top of it, he wanted me to pay to repair his broken windshield. And so I asked him how much it was. It was going to be like $62. And I'm like, yeah, I can afford that. And my girlfriend's husband says, no, he hit you. You're 65 years old. You don't give him any money. I'm like, okay, I just got hit. I mean, I don't know. So with the MRI, the doctor's exam, x-rays, meds, physical therapy, everything included cost me $175.
Oh wow. An
And that's
MRI?
MRI, everything included. So when people say, well, what health insurance do you have? I said, I don't have any. I just pay out of pocket because as an American, I can afford to go to private clinics, which is where I went. I can afford private doctors and private hospitals because the cost of living is so cheap. There's this one white guy on YouTube, I don't remember his name. He's in Nicaragua. And he has a great video about why it does not make sense to buy health insurance when you're living abroad. And he breaks it down. He says what he does, he puts $200 a month into a fund for health care. And at the end of the year, he's got $2,400. And if he hasn't used it, which normally you haven't, you can spend it on something big and then start over again the next year. And that's pretty much what I do. So when I
Yeah.
moved back here couple of months ago, I used that was my medical fund to use for my plane ticket and my extra baggage fees and all that stuff. So there's no need for me to have health insurance because I get excellent care and for almost nothing. So and if
Yeah,
I went to the public clinic,
I've heard that it's a very American thing to ask about healthcare because, that's not the norm for
that's
us to
how we're
just have.
and we think that you have to have insurance and it has to be expensive and that's none of that's true. I had a colonoscopy here before I left in 2004 because I I was due for one and I was pretty sure I was going to apply for Peace Corps again. I didn't know which country, but I knew that to get my medical clearance for Peace Corps, they'd want me to have another colonoscopy because after you reach 60, you got to have it like every 5 years or so. So I went ahead and got it here. I paid $46. Plus, I had to buy all the materials that they use, like the tubing and the needle, and so they give you a list of supplies. You take that to the pharmacy. So altogether, the colonoscopy cost me about $65. Now, without insurance in the U.S., how much would a colonoscopy have cost me? How many thousands of dollars would it have cost me?
Why?
and it was excellent. Yeah. So, yeah, I've had friends that got surgeries here, and if the surgeries can't be done here, they fly you over to South Africa, and they have much more advanced facilities there. But I can get pretty much everything I need here.
Now
So,
you're
because people,
painting a
one thing,
unique picture, though. You're painting a unique picture for me because you did mention that only 30% of the population has uh, electricity,
access to
access to electricity. You walked across the street, you got hit by a bot, a
Bajaj, well, a tuk tuk, a
bajaj,
tuk tuk.
a tut tut. You talking about that the dogs are demonic and it's a cultural belief. These are a lot of things. There are a lot of things happening.
Yeah, yeah.
So, needless to say, I imagine there's been a lot of adjustments that you've had to make to live in Madagascar. Other than the ones I've listed, could you think of anything else? Like, have there been anything that you are just like, okay, well, this is my life now. I'm just gonna,
Sex, sex is
huh?
shit here, girl. Let me tell you, the Malagasy men are taught to only think about themselves, taught to get in, get off, and get out as quickly and as quietly as possible.
That sounds horrible.
The women are like, that's it. American women who are married to Ghazi men, if they all tell me the same thing, well, when he's done, he's done. And, for me, I've been around, I'm 68, and I'm used to having great, mind blowing sex. That will never happen in Madagascar. So, one of the things I told you I brought with me this time, I brought a whole bunch of toys with me because I knew that the men here
Good.
just they don't have what it takes. And it's terrible because I really like having sex with a man, but I have to find a man, and I like older men. I have to find a man who's willing to let me teach him how to be a good lover. But knowing the cultural divide is okay. Most the Malagasy culture is that people live like in a one room house. So when couples have sex, it's very, very quiet. And even though we're in my own house, my own apartment, a mile from the closest neighbor, you won't even hear him breathe. And when he stops moving, that's your clue that he's done. I mean, that's what it's like. It's like, make some noise, say something, damn it. Americans, we like to talk shit. Baby, you know how we do.
So yeah,
And
but so does this feed into relationships? Like, because I imagine if it's like this in the bedroom, then outside the bedroom, a man is not listening to anything a woman has to say. Like, is
yeah,
the patriarchy alive and well in
it's very
Madagascar?
patriarchal. Very patriarchal. And then it's taboo to even talk about sex, so I have to get my girlfriends to look it up before they'll even share with me. Like, do any of you even enjoy sex? And they're finally like, no, it's just something I have to do. And it's over in a minute. So, if I want my kids, and this is what I have to do to have kids, this is what I do. But,
This is not this
you know,
is not Keyoka
but you,
after dark. I had no idea this was happening. But you know what?
but you
Maybe this
know,
is a new thing.
when Malagasy women have babies, they're silent. They make no sound.
Because the
And if you
stoicism.
make Yes, even if you breathe too loud, the doctor will shush you, the nurse will shush you. The ancestors didn't make a sound, you can't make a sound. And they'll be in labor for hours and they won't make a sound.
That sounds
It's
horrible.
fucking incredible. I mean, it's so many different. Oh, and then, when the little boys are circumcised, when they're like 3 years old, it's a big 3 day celebration. The family comes from all over, and they blast the music literally 24/7 for 3 days. And so when they snip the little boy, take off his little foreskin, one of the grandmothers pops it in her mouth and swallows it. Yep.
What?
But I mean, it's small. She's not like she's chewing it. She's just gone. It's just part of the culture.
Why?
It's,
But why?
I don't know.
Is there a
It's just how
meaning
they.
behind it?
Sure, there is. I'm sure there is. But when I first found out, I was just so horrified that I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And then I witnessed it when I attended a circumcision. I'm like, oh, okay. I wonder how that tastes.
Not I wonder how it tastes.
But
Oh my
I
god.
love Malagasy people. Like the taxi bays that go around town, the local vans. A lot of times, these vans would not be street legal in the US. A lot of these vans are 40, 50 years old. And you walk in the back door, they open up the back, you walk in the back door, and you can see the pavement. A lot of times, you pull in to a gas station and you have to get out. If you're sitting up front next to the driver, you have to get out because they have to lift the seat up because the gas tank is right underneath your seat.
Oh,
Yeah.
old school.
Yeah, really old school. They'll stuff that anybody else would have thrown away. The Malagasy people keep running. Example, during rainy season, which is now, your umbrella breaks. In the US, what do? You throw it away, go buy a new umbrella. Not here. These guys will set up just in a public area, and they'll sit down there, and you see the special tool they have, and people bring their umbrellas, and they fix their umbrellas for them.
Oh
And
wow.
you fix your shoes. They don't waste a lot of anything. It's just amazing how resilient and how fetsy as we call them, how clever they are. And I really admire that. The way they come up with fixes. I look at some of the wiring. You go in some of the houses and like, and this hasn't burned down yet. You're just kind of amazed, but they make it work. It's an amazing culture, and I love living here. It's a simpler life, challenging in some ways. The roads are bad, and you got to deal with like this certificate of morality and stuff like that. But generally, the people are extremely welcoming. I've done this before, where you can literally walk up to someone's house at mealtime and say, hello, Naruko Mama Lisa, I'm Fale Mama Fanchicha. My name is Mama Lisa. It's nice to meet you. Oh, welcome and please have a meal. They don't know me, but they'll offer me a meal. And I've done this before. So, yeah. I mean, there are always, going to be bad people, that take advantage of stuff. And I've been taken advantage of by my Peace Corps host family. God, my host dad. But it's okay. Um, I
But
did what I did.
your husband not gonna be there.
Say again.
I
What you?
said you
I'm sorry.
said
What you
you
said?
love it there, but your husband is not there. Is that why you're planning these trips to the motherland just to see?
Oh, I'm divorced. Okay, so I don't have a husband. I have. So yeah, I'm hoping to. I was thinking I would go over to Ghana because there's a large uh, population of black expats, and I thought that maybe I could find a brother who's retired, who may be a widow, whose toolkit's still working, and I could knock out some cobwebs, from time to time. But Ghana is now on the shit list for political reasons, so I'm not going to Ghana. Um, but there are a lot of other countries around, and a lot of African cultures, the men are taught to please the woman. Madagascar is just not one of those. So, just because I'm 68 doesn't mean I don't want to have sex anymore. And
Yeah.
I can have sex here if I just want this, bip bam, thank you, ma'am. But that's not worth my time. Excuse me.
Gotta yell at the dogs. I'm happy it's not
They
me.
still,
It's usually me having to step away
yeah.
and yell at my dogs.
Well, the sun's coming up now, and so people are starting to walk by my fence, and they're hearing them walk, and that's what that is. because we started this at 5 a.m. and it's 6:15 almost now. So, yeah, the sun's up in the sky now.
Yeah.
So anything else?
Yes. Oh, Dee wants to know, how have you been taken advantage of, if you're willing to share a few examples. Well, if you
Yeah.
want to, we can
Oh,
keep it a positive conversation.
no, no. This I'm happy to. Peace Corps assigned me a host family, and I lived next to them for the year that I was teaching here during Peace Corps. I lived in a little hut on the school grounds that was owned by my host family. And I decided to build this halfway house for my orphans who aged out because my host dad had all this land. I asked him, I said, can I build this halfway house on your land? And then when I don't have any orphans there, then you can use it, but I'll need it, for like the next 5 or 6 years. No problem, Mama Lisa, great. We didn't sign anything. I mean, because I trusted him. We were like family. Needless to say, not only when he found out I was leaving the U.S., the Madagascar, to go back to the States to see my kids, he had started telling people that as soon as I left, he was going to kick the orphans out and move his two daughters in. They were both single parents. And so word got back to me that that was what he was going to do, and there was nothing I could do to stop him. So I said, well, I hear you're going to move Tina and Vivi in, so, um, I'll leave it furnished. But then I found out that during construction of the halfway house, he had stolen a lot of the building materials from the work site and used them to rebuild his second school, which is out by the university. And then I noticed, I said, oh, wow, the school got rebuilt. How did he find the money to do that? And then one of the builders told me, he said not to tell you, basically, you paid for this too. So once I left, instead of leaving all the furniture and appliances, I took everything. I
Yeah.
had my housekeeper. We're moving, and she took the toilet brush. I said, "Girl, why you take the toilet brush?" She said, "I
Listen,
didn't have anything." Like,
she took
you
everything.
know,
Okay.
she took,
That's the one you
and
need
with,
on your team. She's gonna take
and
everything.
she, oh my, she and her husband have helped me with these dogs since I've been gone. I've been sending them money every month. They are the ones that when we go to rescue these dogs, they're the ones in the job. They're the two. These people are salt of the earth. And so, yeah, Felix took advantage of me. And then when he came and saw that I had left this place empty, he thought I had left the country already. He sent me a text saying, unless Nazir and Harry, the two that we were talking about, returned the furniture, he was going to have them arrested for theft. Well, I hadn't left town yet. So I went to the police myself and told them what had happened. And, so I was proactive and to protect them. Yeah, he was just a real character. And then I had to let all my donors know because they had donated all this money for this halfway house that now was gone. And
Yeah.
I explained, I
Shares
told
it.
them
How
the truth.
much
I
was
said,
your investment?
it was only about 6 grand altogether, 7 grand maybe. Because to build a house here is pretty cheap. And I let them know, I said, I was taken advantage of. I trusted the wrong person. Um, I apologize. I can't give you any of your money back because it's gone. But, this is who I am. I'm going to be upfront and honest with you. Other ways I've been taken advantage of, I can't think of anything. People are always trying to get me to loan them money or give them money. And usually those are always no. No, I don't loan money. I don't loan money. But yeah, pretty much just that. Yeah, I can't think of anything else.
Yeah.
But I hope that answers your question. Brown girls invest too.
Yeah, definitely. That's a shame that that happened, but I guess it was just a learning experience. And ooh,
When people show you who they are, and he
yeah,
showed me who he was. And I ran into him and his wife about 2 weeks ago. And his wife, I adore. I still love his wife, but the Malagasy people marry for life. They almost never divorce. And a lot of times they'll just split and go off and marry somebody else, even though they haven't
No.
divorced the first one. Yeah, well, that's, no, not here. And so she stuck with him. And she knows when this whole thing went down, I knew that she was mortified, but that's her husband, blah, blah, blah. So when I saw the two of them standing on the corner as the Bajaj I was in was pulling up, she and I made eye contact first, and I waved at her. And she said to him, Mama Lisa. So he turns, he says, Oh, Mama Lisa! And he puts his hand inside the Bajaj, my hand. I shook his hand, hello, Felix. And Tunga Sua, which means welcome. Thank you. Socha Besaka. And then the judge driver said, did they want to get in? He says, no, they were going to wait. So as we pulled away, I sent his wife an air kiss to let her know she's still good with me.
Mm.
Your husband's in. Um, Something similar happened to me with the husband of another good friend. I won't get into the details, but it it caused a break, and I let her and her son know that what your father did will not impact our relationship. We're still good. He's a jackass. We're still good. And she's the one handling all my visa. She's done all my visa work, and that way, she saved me the trouble of having to deal with the corruption at the city hall. Because every time you go to city hall, you got to pay a bribe. And like with the halfway house, when I was getting it, waiting for them to hook it up to the municipal water supply so we could have running water and flush toilet, I had to wait 2.5 years because I wouldn't pay the bribe. And every time I called and asked about it, I said, well, we could do it today. You know what's going to cost you? I'm like, no, wait. 2.5 years later, they finally hooked it up.
That's
Yeah.
so petty.
It's,
Did you pay
but
them
the
any
corruption,
bribe, like anything?
no. Felix told me that he ended up paying them a small bribe in the end because that municipal water supply was extended so that his school could have running water so the kids could have drinking water. Um, so he said he paid a bribe, but I didn't pay it. I wasn't going to pay. And as I was telling my friend just the other day, if I wanted to get my visa issued like within a week, I could. If I wanted to pay $200-300, I could easily do it, but I'm not going to do it. I'll wait the 6 or 7 or 8 months it takes to just go through the system. But there's always a way. So it goes back to me giving like bonbons to the cops. So I got hit by this Bajaj strike. When I showed up at the hospital, the clinic sent me to the hospital to get an MRI. While we're there, the owner of the Bajaj was a retired policewoman and her husband. The driver was just like leasing it from them every day. She shows up and she comes in because she wants to strong arm me into paying for the repair of the windshield. And she comes in with this police captain. He walks in, typical like Idi Amin kind of energy walking in, and he sees me. He says, "Oh, that's Mama Lisa. She always gives bonbons to the cops. She's helping the kids. She's helping the animals. You know who that is?" And so when she saw that this cop knew me and all that I could, that all she was trying to do, he's like, there's nothing you can do. The Bajaj, he hit her. He left the scene of the accident. He didn't report it, blah, 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 blah. And he says, and if she sues you, she'll probably win. And so then he asked me, do you want to sue her? And this is a guy that she had brought him along to pressure me. And he had my back. So me treating these national police with bonbons, that was part of why I do that. Because when I need a cop, they're like, Mama Lisa, no, she's good. Don't, like I've been walking down the street, no, stop traffic. No, that Mama Lisa needs to pass.
But it's not just feeding the cops bonbon. It's being a part of the community. Like you really
Yes,
are a
yes,
fixture in their community.
yes, yes, yes. And I mean, everybody knows me. People come up to me all the time. They say, oh, Mama Lisa. People I don't know. I just say, Salama. Or hello, my darling. They know I say that and it's hello, my darling, for the teenagers or whatever. And they know that if they, really need something, I'm there for them. I'm not there for the bullshit, but if you really need me, yeah, I'm there for you. Turn this fan back on. Because it's
I
already
have a
85.
question, and she's asked this twice. Khadijah wants to know what's your favorite Peace Corps or travel experience?
That's a great question. Um, wow. My favorite Peace Corps experience, there during our pre-service training, which is 3 months, they teach us about the Malagasy language, culture, whatnot. And they had several cultural activities that were just incredibly fun. One day they just taught us how to cook Malagasy food, and one of them was making coconut milk. And you take the coconut and you shave out the coconut meat, and then you put it in a bowl and you pour hot water over it and you stir it up and you run it through you string it through a sieve or fabric or whatever, cheesecloth. And I had never thought about how you make coconut milk. It was little things like that. It was just so much fun, and learning how they cook rice differently than the way we do it. Um, Learning how to cook rice the Malagasy way, I still struggle with that. So I just went out and bought a rice cooker, like done with that. Yeah, because they intentionally burn the rice because the
Oh, the
burnt
crispy.
rice on. Well, no, what happens is they add water to it and make a drink out of the burned rice, and it's called Ronald, and it's actually delicious. It doesn't sound good, but it's got a really smoky flavor, and it's the only water you can safely drink because it's been heated. You don't want to drink the tap water here if you're American. No, everything has to go through a filter. Like here, I've got, you see my filter, my water
Oh,
filter here,
oh wow.
and even after
Okay.
that, to put 3 drops of chlorine bleach inside each liter just to make sure that it's safe. Yeah, yeah.
But how?
So I even can't drink the water. Not if I want to stay
But
not
you
sick.
put chlorine bleach in it. You can still drink it.
Oh yeah, you don't taste it. Just 3 drops per liter. Yeah, well, that's what Peace Corps taught me, and that's what I've been doing all these years. Some people say you shouldn't do it, but Peace Corps has been doing this around the world for a long time. And if Peace Corps says if you want to stay safe, put 3 drops of chlorine bleach in each liter of water you filter, that's what I'm going to do. So,
Mama Lisa, you getting a lot of support in the chat. The people are saying they love you spilling the tea. Brown Girls
thank
Invest too says she's gonna throw your name around if she ever goes to Madagascar. Listen, don't just throw her name around. Mama Lisa actually has a nonprofit. I'm putting a link to it in the chat. Throw your money around. Okay, send some coins to Madagascar.
you. I'm trying to get funding so I can open up a shelter here with a clinic and boarding facilities, and to provide a mobile clinic so we can go around to the neighborhoods and serve more of the animals. We sponsor 8 special needs kids right now. Madagascar has 31 million people, and there are 3 child psychologists in the entire country. And a lot of these street kids have undergone all types of abuse of all natures, and they have no one to talk to. And so one of the orphanages that we support is only former street kids. So when I go out to do my arts and crafts with them every week, it may not sound like much, but allowing these kids to have a glue stick for the first time in their lives, to make an origami star, or to paint. See, arts and crafts are not part of the curriculum, so they don't have a creative outlet. So a lot of times, just being able to create something joyful gives these children an opportunity to release. The need is great. And a little bit goes a long way. Even a $20 donation, with $20, 60,000 RERA, that's a month's tuition for one of my special needs kids, including their transportation and their food.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it's very cheap to live here. So any donations and everything's 100%, tax deductible because I'm a 501c3 organization. And yeah, MamaLisaCares.org. We always need funds because, like this one dog with a prolapsed uterus, there's no way you can anticipate that when you're doing your monthly budget. And that blew my budget to hell. But luckily, one of my donors stepped up. She says, "Lisa, I got you." Thank God. So I appreciate I appreciate any support I can get. Throwing my name around is great. I don't recommend Madagascar to a lot of people because it is a much simpler life. It's harder in a lot of ways because of the transportation, because you can't drink the water, because electricity is unstable, blah, 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 all this stuff. A lot of people, they want Kenyas and Ghanas and Tanzanias and, you know, Ethiopias. They want the sexy African countries. They don't want the poor ones. And Madagascar is one of the poorest nations on the planet, and that's why I'm here because I can do the most good here.
Mm, okay. I love that. Do you think Madagascar is your forever place?
Yeah, I hope to die here. And I've already told my kids that one day they'll get a call saying your mother has died, and that's the end of it. And my kids aren't thrilled about that, but I'm like, it's my life and my death, my choice. So you can come to Madagascar and visit, embrace it. They're like, it's so far. And it is, it's so far and it's expensive. But this is where I'm at home. For some reason, Madagascar makes my heart sing. But I still intend to do more travel, but this will be my home base. There they go again.
Well, thank you so much for your transparency. Thank you for your openness. Thank you for sharing so much about Madagascar, your journey, the work that you're doing. I really appreciate the tea, the drama. I really appreciate you
Well,
coming on the channel.
I'm always happy to help others. And when people are trying to get others to black sit, I am always the number one supporter because I want black folks to get the hell out of Dodge. The United States will never be a welcoming, nurturing place for people of color.
Yep.
And we deserve better. And there's so many places where we can live and live wonderful lives outside the US. So I thank you for what you're doing and spreading the word that we can travel as women, we can travel alone. We don't have to go in groups. We don't have to have a husband or a mate with us. We can do this on our own. I applaud you for that. It's so empowering. So
Thank
thank you. Okay, my
and
darling, I got dogs
yes.
to tend to.
Yes, thank you. And thank you all for joining me tonight. I know it was a little late. But like the video if you haven't liked the video. If you have any additional questions for Mama Lisa, drop down in the comment section. I'll make sure to get her to her. Or maybe she'll come back on the channel and chat with us another time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they can email me at lisa@mamalisacares.org if they have
yes,
anything directly.
yes.
Yeah, you
And
can
it is
email me.
past our bedtime. We are going to sleep. Peace out, y'all.